Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am French Pearson, and welcome again to my channel. It is July 10th. Yeah, July 10th. It is Wednesday of 2024, 8:45 in the a.m. You are looking at Elise Stefanik of New York, the one that I am thinking that former President Donald J. Trump would choose as his VP. What do you think? What do you think? Well, yesterday, she was the first person at the weekly press briefing to talk about the SAFE Act. Yes, the SAVE Act. And with the SAVE Act, it is an additional law, if you will, to ensure that illegals, that undocumented, cannot vote in the elections. And you would think that the Democrats would be on board with that. I mean, it sounds simple, right? But you know, the Democrats are, they're hedging against it. I wonder why. This reminds me of the 5 Ds of delay, deny, debate, derail, and destroy. The 5 Ds. They want this measure, in my humble opinion, to be destroyed at the end. So they're going to, delay, right? They're going to debate, back and forth. They're going to deny. They're going to try to derail it, then destroy it. It's the cousin of the 5 Ds. But yeah, you got 4 months before the election. I can admire the Republicans trying to get out ahead of this game. Like I've said before, the biggest thing that happened back in the day with the voting was over that voting machine called the Dominion machine. It's over the Dominion. God gave Adam and Eve dominion. Is this a twist of fate? Are we back in the garden? Are we back at a time when we have to secure our domain? Well, Elise Stefanik, I want you to listen to her. I want you to think in your town, city, whatever, precinct, are illegals able to slip through the cracks? Look, they're getting free housing. They're getting medical. They're getting some type of ID because I stay less than 3 blocks from a migrant shelter, and I'm telling you, every month the cars are getting better. Why? Because they're getting this money every month. Could they not use that ID to skirt through and possibly vote? This is the argument. So what is the hold up here? It should be a slam dunk, so to speak. What do you think? So let's get a wealth of information this morning and go from here. Let's listen to Miss Stefanik.
Accusing us of peddling conspiracy theories. The cover-up is over and accountability is here. For years, House Republicans have known that Joe Biden is unfit for office. We also know that he will go to any length to maintain his grip on power. This is why it is so crucial that we take every possible measure to ensure that the 2024 presidential election is free from election interference and is constitutional. As part of that ongoing effort, House Republicans are bringing to the floor this week Congressman Chip Roy's Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, which requires individuals to provide proof of citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. Not surprisingly, the Biden White House, whose far-left open border agenda has let in millions, over 10 million illegal immigrants, is against our bill. This is a very simple and logical concept rooted in the Constitution. Only American citizens should vote in American elections. Also this week, House Republicans are moving Mary Miller.
So this amends the Constitution. And again, you think that the Democrats would be like, hey, let's go ahead and go with it. But see, this hidden power, they stay in the middle and they play the black and the white. They can disturb either one on either side at any time. Understand the logic. If you got a checkerboard and you're running the whole operation, and you got people on both sides, at any time there's some legislation that you want to go through, you can choose a Democrat to go against a Republican legislation, or you can choose a Republican to go against a Democratic legislation, because the devil feeds on confusion. And again, he wants to have, to me, the 5 Ds: delay, deny, debate, derail, then destroy. So depending on what the powers want, they implement the 5 Ds. You see how, look, this is how the real world works. I wish I understood it when I was a budding journalist, but it just takes time to get a little wisdom, and you can see it over time. And so I don't think I'm far off in understanding how the hidden hand works. They choose a number of people. I mean, allegedly, look what happened to Speaker of the House, less than 5 months ago. They got 12 disciples, how many it was, led by Gates, whatever his name, Gates, right? Somebody said the gates of hell. Remember how they got that one Speaker of the House out? You see what I'm trying to say? I'm just going to say allegedly. But that's the example I'm trying to give you. Let's say the powers that be got together with Gates, Representative Gates, and did what? Come against the Speaker of the House, because the powers do not want something to go a certain way. So they go to these people who they control, allegedly, we make this happen. Are we looking at this? Look, can we take a risk in the times that we live in? A lot of people are saying this election will determine everything for our future, the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And let's just keep it real. If illegals, if undocumented are allowed to vote in this next election, who you think they're gonna vote for? Come on, man. You ain't gonna bite the hand that feeds you. Look, they got cell phones. They can be promised a lot of things in the future. So, and we don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. All we know is that they're getting medical, free food, and shelter. And my biggest fear, I'm sure your biggest fear, and think about it, I don't care what political persuasion you are, Democrat, Republican, people, we gotta have fair elections. So to me, let's just pass the bill. Let's listen to this second one here.
This country. Joining us now is a supporter of the SAVE Act. She is the Republican Congresswoman from the state of Florida, back here on the Hill, Congresswoman Laurel Lee. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us. Once again, explain to me, why are you spending time on this?
Well, it's important for several reasons. First off, we know that there are a lot of states that want to be following the law, that means that non-citizens can't vote, but right now they don't have the resources that they need to verify citizenship, and courts have even held that the Voting Rights Act prevents them from verifying citizenship when someone registers to vote. So what the SAVE Act does is ensure that state and local election officials can actually follow the law that says federal elections are limited to U.S. citizens. And frankly, it's something that really everyone should be behind. Our elections are for U.S. citizens. They are the only people who are lawfully entitled to vote. And this bill will make sure that election officials can actually access resources like the Social Security database and the Homeland Security databases.
Isn't that beautiful? Look, that makes sense. Sometimes you can pass a law and you have to make it relevant because it's a breathing document. It has to be more current in relation to the circumstances that come up. You see my logic? So I see nothing wrong with it. Amending what you already had it in place, because we didn't have this illegal problem to this extent before Joe Biden. So can you blame them whether you're independent, Republican, or Democrat? Hey, look, you know, I parade this move. Now I want to show you guys something. Let's go to the 140 mark. At the 140 mark, yeah, this is it right here. Look at this. Look at this. That's a bolt of lightning. Look, it just caught my eye when I was doing this research, but I want you guys to see it. Poll Master makes this. You know, you go into the polling booth, right? So let's check that out. Here's Poll Master, booth 2. This is their product. It costs X amount of dollars, but look at this here. Is that coincidence that this is their logo? What does that remind you of? Doesn't that remind you of Luke 10:18? Right? I beheld Satan being hurled out of heaven. Isn't that something? Luke 10:18. I'm not saying that's what they're showing. I'm just saying, isn't that interesting that, you know, they got that on there, right? Wow, interesting. So let me go back to this here. I'm going to go to a few parts. Let's go to the 149 mark, because I wanted to read some things here. This bill would do nothing to safeguard our elections. This is what Biden is saying. This bill would do nothing to safeguard our elections, but it would make it much harder for all eligible Americans to register to vote. The evidence is clear that the current laws to prevent non-citizen voting are working as intended. Are you buying that? Are you buying that? People, we got illegals in here. At some point, we gotta amend or go back and look at what's going on, because we gotta protect our democracy. It's more about protecting our democracy than anything else, right? You would think, right? Here's something here, non-citizen voting. This person is saying 2022 Georgia voter roll audit found only 1,638 cases of potential non-citizens trying to register to vote out of millions. So that's their data. 2016 survey of 49 states found only 2 possible non-citizens voting out of 137 million voters. And last 2016 election study found non-citizen voting accountable for just 0.0001% of voting in 42 immigrant-heavy jurisdictions. Now again, have you worked at the polls? What do you know? Let's get a man on the street or woman on the street information. This data don't seem accurate in relation to my research way before the last presidential election, that the thing has been exploited. So I watch that like nobody's business. So tell me what you think. You know, is this data accurate? You know, is it accurate? Let's go to the 240 mark. Got something else to read here. 2022 Georgia voters roll audit found only 1,634. Okay, that's the same thing. Okay, so next, let me go to this here. Like I said, we're gonna get a wealth of knowledge. I want you to listen to Ralph Norman. And it says, Ralph Norman makes a shocking claim of non-citizens voting in swing states. And this is Forbes. And this was yesterday. In fact, all this information I have so far is from yesterday. Okay, check this out. Listen carefully, it's gonna shock you. It's going to shock you.
Eagle. Is it not true that Pennsylvania admitted a few years ago 10,000 non-citizens were registered to vote? Is it not true that Texas had a similar problem where nearly 100,000 non-citizens were allowed to vote? Is it not true that Illinois implemented automatic voter registration several years ago and hundreds of non-citizens ended up on the rolls? Is it not true that Ohio had upwards of 100, I think, in one precinct of non-citizens? It's not true that a Georgia audit found more than 1,600 non-citizens had attempted to register to vote. Virginia had nearly 1,500. You know, when you look at what's happening in this country with the illegals, Congressman Stiles, why is this the president allowing what we know of is 13 million plus in this country without any barriers? Why do you think, what goals does this administration have?
I have a lot of questions on a lot of that.
I think we all have a lot of questions. everything that this legislator just said was documented and is true. So I'm bringing this out here. We got 4 months. 4 months. And you think in a perfect world, both Democrats and Republicans, after all the hoopla in January, almost 4 years ago, they would have got together and said, you know what, for the best interests of the country and our democracy, let's get together and let's try to prevent. And then if they didn't do it then, because of what happened, back in January, I can't say, but that was almost 4 years ago. But now you get 2 years into the Biden administration, and arguably the numbers that I have, the lowest is 18 million all the way up to 42 million illegals. Okay? So within 2 years of the Biden administration, both bodies of Congress, Democrat and Republicans, should have got together and said, you know what, we gotta take a second look on this voting thing, because this thing could sway either way. Okay, so look, kudos to those who brought this out. Now I want to bring to you another one. We're gonna go slowly, so listen to this here.
Tragic thing, Maria. Over the last three and a half years since the Biden administration has been in power, they've let in about 12 million illegal aliens, or an estimated nearly 30 million non-citizens in the United States. Currently, with the laws we have in place, the so-called motor voter law, the National Voter Registration Act, you do still have to be a citizen to vote. But the Supreme Court has interpreted it as prohibiting those at the state level who register people to vote from requiring the production of evidence of documents proving citizenship, just like you have to show when you get, say, a passport. They're prohibited from asking for that. And so what that means is a person can fill out a form as long as they check the right box and sign their name and are willing to lie. They can vote in federal elections, even if they're not citizens, and they couldn't prove it because they're not citizens. The SAVE Act would fix that loophole.
People, that sound like we got a problem. We can't afford loopholes at this juncture. Again, let me know what you say. Okay, let me know what you think.
The H.R. 821 is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, also known as the SAVE Act. Now, this legislation is, in every way, nothing but common sense. It amends the National Voter Registration Act and would require states to do two things. Number one, to prove citizenship from voters for federal elections. Secondly, it would require states to purge non-citizens from the voter rolls. You can't get much more common sense than this. Particularly when we understand that secure elections are a key cornerstone of our entire governmental process. So the question is, why in the world are the Democrats and the Democratic leadership whipping so hard against this legislation? And furthermore, why has the White House, why have they announced that President Biden would veto this bill should it pass both chambers of Congress? Well, joining me now from the House.
Isn't that something? And people want to vote this guy in again for a second term? It matters not your political persuasion. We want fairness. We don't want things exploited. Suppose there are, 100,000 or 1 million illegals that, of course, weren't vetted, who came over here against our interests. I'm putting it like this. And they had nefarious plans, and they wanted to get behind a politician that they literally paid off. That could happen. Wrap your mind around that. It's possible that you've seen just as many documentations as I have on social media, where they have said that some of these people are in gangs and whatnot. Suppose they have a politician with a wink and a smile, and they gave $1 million under, and they get this person, to represent them. That could sway our policies and everything for the future. So for the love of God, the madness has to stop. We need to adapt something and amend our current voting laws. Now, here it is right here. It's called the SAVE Act. It says radical progressive Democrats are taking drastic steps to fundamentally remake America through open borders, the release of millions of illegal aliens into our communities, and by waging a full-scale assault on election integrity laws. The problem, since taking office, Joe Biden administration has released Elise, it says 4.6. Isn't that interesting? 4.6, like 46 Joe Biden, million illegal aliens into the country, which that number is grossly wrong, under numbers, with 1.8 million unknown gotaways. Now, if you heard of the word gotaways, let me tell you what gotaways are. Gotaways is when Border Patrol comes up on illegals that got through, let's say, the barbed wire fence, and then they chased them into the forest or the woods, whatever, and they couldn't apprehend them. Well, according to the research that I've gathered, Department of Homeland Security says that you can't count them as numbers that have illegally got up in here. They're called gotaways. Now, I know you're scratching your head. I know it's crazy. When I first heard about it, it blew me away. Someone said it again. If you got 10 illegals that come through, get through the barbed wire fence, and all of a sudden, the Border Patrol gave chase, and they're running through the woods, and they lose them. When they come back, they can't report that number. They can't report that number. Look, put in the comment section if you heard about that. Ain't that crazy? In many states, these illegal aliens are eligible for driver's licenses and other benefits, providing ample opportunities to illegally register to vote in federal elections. In some jurisdictions, non-citizens are even able to vote in local elections, while only U.S. citizens can legally vote in federal elections. Federal law has generally preempted and undermined state laws requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote in such elections. So yeah, let's get the federal government and the state laws in harmony. I think that's a beautiful idea. Rep. Chip Roy's SAVE Act would fix this problem, dwarf Democratic efforts to cement one-party rule, and uphold and strengthen current laws by requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. This is music to my ears. Amends the National Voter Registration Act, which has governed state voter registration since 1993 to require states to obtain documentary proof of U.S. citizenship and identity in person when registering an individual to vote in federal election. So yeah, I'll come back to this, but check out the gematria aspect. Look at that, SAVE Act. What does SAVE Act come out to? 46. Isn't that interesting? Joe Biden just had to be the 46th president, but let's break it down. SAVE comes out to 47. And they're both trying to be the 47th president. Also, ACT comes out to 24 in gematria. X is the 24th letter of the alphabet. So SAVE Act, trying to get the President of the United States to save America? Or are they trying to get it to do away with it? Because X means that you're marked. Isn't that deep? SAVE Act. I just had a hunch, so I went to the gematria calculator. SAVE Act comes out to 46. I know you're saying, wow. Man, wow, all day. Look at this here. This is the day that they brought it. They spoke about it yesterday on 7/9 of 2024. Subtract that from what? The day of the election of 11/5/2024. The difference is 3 months, 3 weeks, and 6 days. 336. I think that's enough to give us pause and caution. We got to protect America. We got to protect America. We cannot have any division on this thing. The 5 Ds cannot be employed at this point of delay, deny, debate, derailed, and destroy. We can't afford it, people. So, yeah, are you for it or are you against it? That's the bottom line. Are you for the SAVE Act? If you are, say yes. If you're not, explain why you're not. And say what would you do different? Because don't you agree that it prevents a lot of things? And don't you believe that a law is a breathing document that every now and then you got to go into it and revisit it and amend it and make it relevant? Because again, we did not have these illegals like this pouring in. Arguably, there have been more illegals come over under Joe Biden's watch in the last 4 years, 3.5 years, than we have probably in the last 40 years. So now they can vote. Look, anybody with a 2-cell brain would understand that this thing can be exploited. And also the current laws that are on the books, it ties the hands of the state. We need to get the federal and the state in sync. We need to prevent and preserve this this precious act, and that is the opportunity to vote. And everybody should have it, but we need to do it right. They didn't come over here legally. And as far as I'm concerned, the situation can be exploited. So I'm Friend Shop Pearson. Tell me what you think. Wanted to give you a pretty good, well-rounded view. And being that the Democrats are not in sync with the Republicans, can we get this done within 4 months? That's the question. I think we can. And I think that we need to just push and back, call our legislators and let them know we're behind it. If you're a Democrat and you don't like what's going on, because I'm trying to keep you up on current events, if you don't like what's going on and you're Democrat, then you know what? Contact your rep and let them know you want to safeguard the integrity and have the integrity of voting, okay? All right, God bless.